Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive bowler from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So here we are, climbing at Boulderhouse. Like I mentioned in the past couple episodes, Maddie and I are out west right now, and that is because we are taking place in the high performance competition, which is happening in a couple days. It's just like another event used for Canadians to earn points and be selected for the World Cup team. So we decided to come to BC about a week early to adjust to the time zone, and also so Maddie can check in with her coach, Libor. Libor Haroza is an ex-professional speed climber, and he is like really good at writing programs, and he coaches Maddie remotely, but it's also important for them to work together in person. So we always come out west to train here in Victoria for a little bit so that Maddie and Libor can link up. So it was just our classic Victoria trip, hanging out with Libor, Maddie training with him, and also adjusting to the time zone so that we can perform well at the high performance competition. So, like I said, we're here for about a week, and I think I have 4 training days on the program while we're here. So this video is kind of just going to be a mismatch of all of our sessions at Boulderhouse. There are 2 locations of Boulderhouse. There's the one here in Langford that we're climbing at right now, and then there's also a location in downtown Victoria. So we'll have some sessions from each of these locations sprinkled in throughout this whole video. So right now we are at the Langford location of Boulderhouse. And if you'll notice, something fun about this gym, like both of the Boulderhouse gyms, is that the tape circuits are the same as some of the gyms that we were climb at in Montreal. The main one being Alley Up. So they're actually like a franchise, and the Boulderhouse and Alley Up are owned by like the same person. And there's like a lot of gyms throughout Canada that are part of this sort of franchise. Up the Block and Joe Rockheads are another couple of these gyms. And so I really like how they try and keep the feel of these gyms quite consistent throughout all these locations. So the tape grades that we're going to be climbing on here are the same of like Alley Up and Joe's and Up the Block like we're used to, which is quite fun. And it's always cool to go into the gym and sort of know what I'm going to expect. So here we are for our first session right off of the plane ride. This gym is obviously full of brand new boulders, and so the idea for this session is just to get on the wall, get moving, see if I can try some hard climbs, but the main objective is to just get the body going again and getting used to moving after being like crammed on a plane for like 6 hours. I find it's always a bit challenging to get the body from feeling like super stiff to feeling like comp ready. And that's why I like to fly out. Like usually if it's an important event, I'll try to fly out a week before the event takes place. And that's enough time to get me feeling like super good and mobile and ready to perform in a competition. Any closer to the comp, and I feel like I might not be at my best. So yeah, we are having a session, going around trying all these new boulders. This boulder that I'm trying right now is probably what was the hardest boulder from this session here. A nice power endurance-y looking pink tape. And actually something that I started to notice about a few of the boulders at this location of Boulderhouse throughout the session was that there were a lot of left heel hook like rock over moves. So obviously we have this move in the middle here where we're matching the big sloper, and then also previously on that red climb, and my knee started to ache a bit during these moves throughout the session, and this is not a new feeling. Also this second move of this climb was like quite cool. the left hand was really bad, and I found that the easiest way to hold this swing was actually to take a one arm off it. Hamish, the head setter here at this gym, was telling me that the way they were playing around with that sequence was, instead of taking the one arm, you actually do like a little bit of a 180 and spin into like an undercling move, like how I sort of end up in. And I thought about that, but then I just accidentally took a one arm. And also that is Hamish's thumbs up. He was at the gym today and I ran into him. But yeah, there were like a few of these left heel hook rockover moves, and I don't usually have knee problems, but I found that there were like, I think there were 3 of them in the gym, and by doing all 3 of these moves and having to try them a couple times each today, I have a bit of like a knee tweak right now, which is a little bit sketchy. It's healed up a little bit at the time I'm recording this. You know, it's been a few days and it's feeling better, but it's like that kind of feeling on the back of your knee when you sort of pull with your hamstring and like in a heel hook position, and you really got to rock over it. It's feeling a little bit sore and achy right now, so I have to be a bit careful of it. Here we are trying a nice little slab climb. Something that I was also trying to do throughout most of these sessions that we're having here was I was actually trying to be a bit more cautious of my attempts. And so during our normal bouldering sessions, I usually climb pretty fast paced. And the idea with the way I usually just train in my boulder sessions is to get as much volume in as possible and try as many different boulders as I can in the session. Like usually that's how my sessions will go, not all the time, but volume is probably the most important factor for me. And so the way that I go about this is sometimes I will like try the last half of a boulder first, make sure I have it dialed in, and then go try it from the start. And so I won't always be giving flash goes in my normal session, but obviously we're about to do a competition, and the idea is to kind of feel like I'm able to perform in these sessions leading up to the event. So I was actually putting a bit more effort into my flash goes, and I wouldn't climb up and try a boulder like the last half of a boulder first most of the time during these sessions at Boulderhouse. And I was really not only trying to give good flash goes, but I was really trying to read the boulder as much as I could before I got on and try and treat every boulder like it was a comp boulder. So you can see here is a good example, like on this slab climb, I'm really taking my time, feeling out all the positions, and the idea is to try my best to not fall, which obviously sounds like that's kind of the name of the game with climbing, but when we're training and maybe sometimes we're having kind of like a half-assed boulder session, we'll sort of allow ourselves to drop off a lot of the time, and that's okay and can actually be effective for training. But if we're obviously trying to perform and like right before a competition, it's good to really like hone in on the skills that we want to be feeling really good for the event. So any sort of mental tactics and performance skills I really try to practice in like my couple sessions leading up to an event. So I was really trying to milk my flash goes and just milk all of my attempts, honestly, in a lot of these sessions. And here's another good example of this. This is a red tape that we're trying. So it's the 3rd hardest tape grade circuit. But then all of a sudden I'm trying like this crux sequence here at the top, and I'm finding myself in a bit of a pickle. And this balance move is feeling like really hard for a red tape. Like this right foot that we're standing on, this white volume, is quite slippery, and it feels really insecure to commit to this like sort of foot stab move. And I do stick it here, but it felt quite hard and felt like I could be dropping off at any second. And so like it felt like a little bit, I was a little bit curious, like, oh, I must be doing something wrong. Like this doesn't quite feel like a red tape. So on my way down the wall, I decided, hey, I see a bit of a better sequence, and so I down climb and then try immediately this other sequence, which I think feels a bit more red tape. But yeah, that was kind of fun. And I kind of realized on that boulder sometimes if you milk the flash go too much, you might actually try too hard and miss kind of like an easier sequence because you're just fighting so hard to stay on the wall. You're not sort of relaxed and just thinking about how the climb will go naturally. And I found that was a funny example of that. And as soon as I didn't have the pressure of trying to get the flash, I just found a better sequence. So there's kind of a balance, right? So I was like really trying to milk my attempts and make them all count. But I think there's also a balance, and you also want to be a bit relaxed to help find like optimal sequences. So I had like a good little reminder of that today, which will be useful thing to remember going into the high performance comp. So here we are trying another pink tape, and this one was quite fun. At first it looked like a very intense, like shouldery sequence at the beginning, and I thought it looked like super hard. But then I realized you can actually grab the top of these holds to help work your way into the good position, which was quite cool. And actually this second last hold of this boulder is like super bad. Like all the other crimp rails are kind of flat and a bit positive. But then that second last one was super slopey, and it was like a really insecure feeling position to like really launch off of it. But yeah, that was a fun boulder. So now, as you may be noticing, these walls and holds look a bit different. So this is the other location of Boulderhouse. So this is the downtown Victoria location, and this is like, I think it's the next day. So this is a different session, and like I said, it's just kind of going to be a mix mash of videos from all the sessions. And I think the last time we were here, I didn't actually get any footage of my sessions while we were at this location. Like the last time we were here being like after Nationals, we had a week stay in Victoria where we climbed at Boulderhouse. And I had a few sessions at Boulderhouse Victoria, but I wasn't able to film them because this location of Boulderhouse gets like so busy. I guess just because it's downtown, but even like in the middle of the day, and especially in the afternoon, this place just gets so busy. And I actually am like rarely able to film here because I like don't want to be invasive just on the gym members and, you know, start sticking cameras in a crowd of people. So I always like miss out on some cool boulders at this location of Boulderhouse because I don't get to film them. But here we are in the morning on the next day, and it is empty enough to film, which is fun. And so this boulder that we're trying is quite cool. It's like a intense power endurance edge boulder. And what we're going to notice throughout all the boulders at this location of Boulderhouse is that I think the setters are going through a bit of like an outdoorsy phase. It's very outdoorsy style in this gym right now. And this boulder that we're trying, this blue one, it's like kind of outdoorsy, but there will be like some very obviously outdoor boulders coming up later. This one is like half classic style, half comp style. I'd say like these holds are comp style, but then the movements are a bit outdoorsy style. And so here I am working my way up this thing, getting like super pumped, but managed to get this end of this fun boulder. And this boulder that we're trying here is probably my favorite one that was set right now at the Boulderhouse Victoria location. And this one was not one of the outdoorsy style boulders. This was one of the comp style boulders. And this one was super fun. So there's a little crimp jib that I'm grabbing with my left hand, as you can see. But other than that, this boulder sort of revolves around, you know, squeezing these big pillar volumes and working your way up. Super fun. And I was having to make use of my tip of the day from the Climbers Rock video from a few sessions ago and really get my forearms into play on this boulder to help get some extra friction and stick. And then this boulder is also going to feature today's tip of the day. So this one is we're going to be talking about like sort of compression moves. So especially when I'm coming into this crimp jib on the left side of this volume, it's like quite slopey, and I really have to compress like my pecs to work my way up in the sequence. And I was like really struggling with the sequence for a few tries, And then I started to implement something that really helped find like better stability and strength for the sequence and work my way through it. And that is simply when we have these sort of close compression moves where we're really getting our pecs involved and squeezing our hands together, it's important to emphasize twisting. And so what I had to do was, like, let's say I have this, little red crimp and I'm just trying to press my hand inwards. That's not going to be as strong as if I was sort of facing like this a little bit and then pulling towards myself. So the way that I really made this hold, this slopey hold, better in the compression position was to hit it and really roll to the right and really twist into this position. And this is often what you want to do with close compression moves. Like on really like bad holds, we've got some close compression, hit whatever hold you want to grab and really roll into it. And then you can unwind and keep doing this. Rolling into close compression moves is really important, and making sure that you're emphasizing that twist. But yeah, this boulder was super fun and was, definitely my favorite up in the gym. And obviously this boulder is quite hard, even with this crimp jib added, but I wonder if this boulder could go without it. I think maybe it could. If only I had a bit more time here, I would probably try it. But yeah, cool boulder. And then now, this boulder that we see here was definitely like the most outdoorsy of all the boulders in the gym. You can tell by this hold that we're going to be grabbing with our right hand. It's this like crazy blocked crimp where we have like a little bit, like a tiny spike that we rest our pointer finger on, and then our back three are like spocking on a lower crimp. A super outdoorsy style feeling hold. And I myself I've been outdoor climbing once in the past decade. Like literally that's the actual fact. And this boulder was like, I could really feel that I was not good at this style of climbing. Not only is this crazy crimp hard for me to hold, but these like little feet are super slopey and bad. And this is like, feels like so outdoorsy, trying to get this kind of tension on bad feet and weird crimps. So I tried it for a bit and I realized like this is just not my kind of boulder, and I move on. But so at Boulderhouse, between the two locations, there are like a lot of resident strong guys, like a handful of V14 climbers that climb at these gyms. So I'm sure that was like one of the boulders that's set for them to get strong for outside. And so here we are moving on to another pink tape. This one thankfully feels a bit more comp style, good for my gym rat climber style. And actually this finish hold, when I'm trying this boulder, you see features like quite an intense meat hook on the right hand. Every time I have to do this kind of move, I still have to be careful of my wrist. Like if you'll notice, I don't wear my wrist widget. I haven't worn it in a while, and that's because my wrist has been feeling better, but it still feels like it's at risk and I have to be careful. Check this out as well. So this boulder is quite fun. It's like literally kind of like a two mover, and it's got like the boulder revolves around that hop across, and then on my first try I kind of undershoot it and I was able to save it, which was pretty fun. So anyway, here we are back at the Langford location of Boulderhouse, and this is a new session obviously, and the next day. And so I think at this point I have like 2 pinks left in the gym to try and send, and like a couple blacks. So here's one of the blacks that we have left, and then the pink tape. So there are 2 pink tapes. One of them looked quite doable, but then we have this one which looked like it was going to be like a really hard test piece. And when I was scoping out this boulder, I wasn't super confident that I could do this in one session. So like I was just talking about the resident strong guys that climb at this gym, I'm sure this is another boulder that was set for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone has topped this boulder because there's some really strong climbers that climb at Boulderhouse. But here I am working out the moves. So one of the most taxing parts of this boulder and the first crux is this foot cut. So these 2 holds are quite slopey and super, super slippery. Like, I don't think my skin was the problem here. I think these holds are like kind of greasy, and it makes this foot cut like really, really hard because you have to just kind of really try to make sure your hands don't slip too much. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed for this next move. And that was happening to me on a lot of these earlier tries. I would like use too much power on this foot cut, and my hands would shift around so that I wasn't set up for this next move. And then here we're moving into the second half of the boulder where the moves don't let up and they're just as hard. So this last move here that you see me trying, I'm kind of like half committing to it because that sort of splayed out shoulder position is still a bit sketchy with my shoulder recovering recently. So I don't actually know if I'm going to be able to stick this last move, but while I'm trying this boulder, the hope is that I can at least get to the last move and touch it, and maybe I don't actually commit to holding it. So that's like my theory behind trying this boulder and making sure I don't hurt myself. But yeah, after working out the moves, I start to gain some confidence. I can stick the foot cut from the bottom, and then I'm finally able to reach up to this kind of slopey edge from the start. But then doing this jump move, like the sort of dead point to the second last hold, is definitely the crux of the boulder from the beginning, I think. Because it's like the left hand that we're holding is quite slopey, and then the right hand we're jumping to is pretty good. It's got a bit of bite, but it feels like the kind of move where you can't just like bite down and close your eyes and try really hard to stay on these two holds because of how slopey they are. There's like a lot of balance involved, and I was finding that no matter how hard I tried, it was just a bit down to luck on whether I would stay on or not, because at this point in the boulder, you're like so fatigued that you just have to hope that you balance, and any little bobble is going to result in a fall on that move. But that boulder was quite cool. Usually I sort of enjoy comp style boulders more, but that like classic style boulder was super, super fun. So here, check out me sort of bailing on this meat hook. You see I grabbed the jug and adjusted my hand. So that's like another instance of me having to be still quite careful on my right hand wrist, and trying to kind of match that gray volume with my hand in a meat hook position, and twisting it like that was probably going to hurt. So I sort of bailed out, I adjusted my hand, and then just saw if I could get like a mock ascend of the boulder. And then since I wanted to still try this boulder, I had to see if I could do it where I go and jump immediately into a meat hook position that won't hurt my wrist. So you see how I'm wrapping the volume now. In this position, my wrist doesn't hurt. It's only when it's turned the other way and we're really engaging like the outside of our wrist. So I think I haven't actually mentioned what my wrist injury is yet, but it's a TFCC injury. So it's like a little disc on the outside of your wrist. And it's been like this for 5-something years. And I always have to be very careful when I'm meat hooking anything with my wrist turned out like that, and try to always maneuver it into the more comfortable feeling meat hook position, which I was thankfully able to do on that boulder. Otherwise, I would not have been able to try it. And so here we have our last boulder of this sort of mishmash Boulderhouse training video. A nice fun comp style black. It's a fun thing about Boulderhouse is they do a nice job of setting like comp style boulders mixed in with classic style like really well. If you're a comp kid or an outdoor climber, it's like pretty 50-50 between all these gyms, and you'll definitely find something that you're looking for, which is really a cool thing about Boulderhouse, I think. So anyway, that wraps up a few days of training at Boulderhouse here in Victoria and Langford. So now at the time I'm recording this, I have a rest day tomorrow, and then we have the high performance competition. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like trying to hit a bit of a peak, but I performed like decently well in these sessions, but I kind of was hoping for a bit more. Like I definitely, I didn't have the absolute maximum like power and sauce that I've been hoping for, but I find that this has happened to me a lot in the past, and then I can still go and have like a good competition or event. And so I've learned to not let it get to my head too much, and hopefully on comp day my body will just be able to turn it on, and hopefully like comp day is when I'm going to be hitting like my absolute peak and be feeling really good. And so yeah, got a rest day, and we're going to head over to Richmond. It's about an hour and a half from where we are now, and take part in the high performance competition. Hopefully I'll be able to get some video from that. It's kind of like a private event. There's actually no spectators, and it's just like a single round to like, you know, we all compete against each other, and then these results give us points towards the Canadian team selection for World Cups. So hopefully they let me like set up a tripod and get some video myself. I don't see why that would be a problem, even though there's like no spectators allowed, but we'll see. Either way, the next episode you can expect either a video or a recap of the high performance competition. So look forward to that. Insert catchy video outro here.